on the scriptural pastimes. So let us offer prayers and then we'll start. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamiti Namini Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasati Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Welcome everyone once again to this evening session of Scriptural Pastimes, where we are hearing the pastime about the devotee demon Vrtrasura. So we have covered so far the chapter 9 of 6th canto, wherein the appearance of the Vrtrasura demon was discussed in the 9th chapter. And in the chapter 10, and also the like we have started with how Indra offends his spiritual master Brihaspati from chapter 7 onwards, and then how the Narayan Kavacha shield was given to him, and then again Indra he does a mistake of again offending, and then this demon Vrtrasura was born just to kill Indra, but because of the mantras were wrongly chanted, so the Vrtrasura is born to be killed by Indra instead of killing Indra. So, and then we have seen the storyline so far, and also in the 9th chapter, we have seen how the demigods have acquired, Indra has obtained the body of Dadichi, and with the bones of Dadichi, they have prepared the thunderbolt, and a battle took place between the demigods and Vrtrasura. And while the battle was happening, so there was a lot of effulgence that was coming from the demigods, and Asuras and the demigods, the demigods were covered by arrows, just like stars were covered by the clouds. And then demigods quickly they cut the weapons into pieces before even they reached them. So when the demons were fighting, so all the weapons, they powdered. Actually, they broken them into pieces. Like demons were showering more, like when the demons were showered the mountain peaks, trees, and stones, the demigods they just broke all of them into pieces. By seeing all that, Vrtrasura's soldiers became very afraid. So these demons, they attack on demigods who are protected by the Krishna was futile. So they understood that this is all we cannot fight against these people. So Asuras lost their confidence and they left their leader even just beginning of the fight. They did not even fight for a long time. They flee away from the battlefield. So then seeing that, Vrtrasura sees that is happening, and he speaks. He starts chastising the demons, his demon soldiers. He says, why are you, fearful? This is not a Kshatriya spirit to run away from the battlefield. So he speaks two things, right? So anybody remembers? Very two important instructions. He says that. What is the instruction that he gives to his demon soldiers? Anybody remembers?
If they die,
Yes.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes, Krishnamurti Prabhu. Yes.
If they die in the battlefield, they will be elevated to the higher planet.
Correct. Very good. Yeah. So they say that, they should not show their back in the battlefield. They should not run away cowardly because what is the, benefit? There are two ways to meet a glorious death. So one of the ways is by performing Bhakti Yoga and by remembering, in which they remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead and they leave their body. And the second way is to die in the battlefield. So by dying in the battlefield, that is also one of the glorious death. They will go to the heavenly planets. So Vrtrasura was telling to his soldiers that why do you have to run away from the battlefield? If you die here, you will get a heavenly planet. So you're going to go to a better place. So he was encouraging them not to run away from the battlefield. Okay, until this, we have seen in 10th chapter. So now we will, today we will see the 11th chapter. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, Mataji, it is seen.
Okay. So this is the 11th chapter now. So today we will see now what happens further. Okay. So who would like to recite? Any volunteers?
No, Mataji. I will try,
Yes,
Mataji.
yes.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Sri Shuka Uvacha Tayevam Samsato Dharmam Vacha Pachur Chesasaha Naivigranta Samabhruntaha Palayana Parandrupa. Am I correct, Mataji?
Yes,
mistake.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, go ahead, Prabhu. Translation also you can read.
Translation by A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Prabhupada ki jai. Sri Sukadeva Goswami said, O King Vrtrasura, the commander-in-chief of the demons, advised his lieutenants in the principles of religion, but the cowardly demonic commanders, intent upon fleeing the battlefield, were so disturbed by fear that they could not accept his words. Hare Krishna Mata.
Hare Krishna. So now Sukadeva Goswami is further explaining what has happened in the pastime of Vrtrasura. So here Sukadeva Goswami is saying the king Vrtrasura, he started chastising his demonic soldiers because they were fleeing away from the battlefield, which is against the codes of conduct also, and also like it's not a valor for a kshatriya to leave the kshatriya dharma and run away. So here when the demonic soldiers, the demons, were fleeing from the battlefield, at that time Vrtrasura actually spoke the words that in the previous chapter we have seen that he speaks these words, that he says that for every person who is born, death is assured to come. Even providence has not provided a means to escape the death. So why? Because death is inevitable. But by dying in the battlefield, you can go back to heavenly planets. Therefore, who will not accept such a glorious death? But after telling all these things also, when the demons were so afraid, still they are not ready to hear the good advice that is given by Vrtrasura. So we can understand from this that when a person is in too much of fear and anxiety, when a person is in too much of fear and anxiety, any kind of good advice that we give at that point of time, it won't enter into their ears. Here Vrtrasura is telling, don't run away, don't run away from the battlefield, but they are not ready to listen. So for example, we see in the Shastras some examples like Dhruva Maharaj. He was too much affected with the insulting words of Surichi. That's why he couldn't accept the words of Narada Muni when Narada Muni said that he speaks this verse in 4th canto, that Gunani Dikan Mudam Lipse Anukrosham gunadamat maitrim samanad anvichen natapair abhibhuyate. So Narada Muni says that you are just a small child, small ordinary child. You will not get affected by other living entity if you have, he says that if you have this kind of behavior. What is the behavior? So he says, Gunadikan Mudan Lipsed. You will not get, affected by the three modes of this material nature, or the people living in the three modes of material nature also. When Anukrosham Gunadamat means when you become very happy to see someone having better qualities, maitrim samanad anvichen, and when you have friendship with equals, natapair abhibhuyate, when you are compassionate to the juniors. So when we follow this principle, you will never you will not be affected by any living entity of this material world. But when Narada Muni gave that advice, Dhruva Maharaj could not take it. He could not accept these good words because he was too much affected with the insulting words of Suruchi. So this is how the world is. Similarly, in the case of Chitraketu Maharaj, he was hankering to get a son. His mind was so filled up that he wanted a son at any cost. But whatever words of Angiram Rishi was speaking, Harsha Shoka, even if the son is born, he's not going to live with you. But he was trying to tell him that you don't need to have a son. But it did not register. Those words did not register to Chitraketu Maharaj. So because he was too much hankering for his son. And similarly, if you see Diti, because she was too much affected by the lust, she could not take the good advice or good instructions that was spoken by Kashyapa Muni. Because of which, she had to give birth to demons. So similarly, here we see in this episode that demons could not take the good advice of Vrtrasura to not to flee from the battlefield, because they were very afraid. Okay, so we'll move on to the second, third shloka. So who would like to recite? Any volunteers?
You will read, Mataji.
Okay, Mataji, you can.
Vishiryamanam pratanam asurasapaha kalanukulais tridashai kalyamanam anatavat drishtvatapyata shankruddha indra shatrur amarshitaha Tannivar yujasrajan nirbharat sedam yuvachaha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you. You can read the translation also.
1 minute. O King Parikshit, the demigods, taking advantage of a favorable opportunity presented by time, attacked the army of the demons from the rear and began driving away the demonic soldiers, scattering them here and there as if their army had no leader. Seeing the pitiable condition of his soldiers, Vrtrasura, the best of the Asuras, who was
called Indra
Satru, the enemy of Indra, was very much aggrieved. Unable to tolerate such rivers, he stopped and forcefully rebuked the demigods, speaking the following words in an angry mood.
Thank you so much, Mataji. So here we see that when the demonic soldiers are fleeing from the battlefield out of fear, the demigods started attacking them. Here, they tried to attack those who were fleeing the battlefield. At that time, Vrtrasura chastised even demigods also. So a true irreligious principles are going on here. First is demonic soldiers are fleeing on one side, which they are not supposed to, are kshatriyas, and the other side demigods are attacking those who are fleeing from battlefield, which is also not correct according to the codes of conduct of kshatriya dharma. So Vrtrasura chastises both of them. He chastises demigods and his own people also. So he speaks the dharma of fighting, how one should not try to run away from the battlefield, and how one should not fight against those who are fleeing from the battlefield. So after speaking about Kshatriya Dharma, then he goes beyond that. In the later verses, we will see. He also starts speaking about Sanatana or Bhagavad Dharma also. Just like how in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna advises Arjuna that, happy are those Kshatriyas who get an opportunity to fight and leave the body in the battlefield. Then he speaks about all this Kshatriya Dharma, and suddenly after speaking about Kshatriya Dharma, Krishna goes beyond it and he speaks the Sanatan Dharma. Like he speaks about Manmana Bhavamad Bhakto, Madhyajimam Namaskuru. He speaks all these things, which is all about Sanatan Dharma. So here also we see later on in the coming verses, that we see even though now Vrtrasura is talking about Kshatriya Dharma, he also is going to speak about Bhagavad Dharma later on. So the demonic soldiers, why are they fleeing? Because they lost their confidence. So we see that confidence is one of the essential thing in life. If someone loses confidence, they may even harm themselves. They go into depression. So the demigods, but now here we see the demigods here, they're acting like opportunists. They became very elated, and they're also not following the dharmic principles. Just because they have got that thunderbolt, they are thinking that no one can beat them up. That's why they got proud. But if you see here Vrtrasura's position, Vrtrasura is having a lot of self-confidence. It is explained in this verse that the demigods took advantage of a favorable opportunity presented by time. Here Prabhupada is mentioning in the translation, right? So this time is actually carrying different things, or time is actually shaping the things, and it is the one which brings happiness or distress in the lives of the people. But as the time progresses, we should also act according to the principles of dharma. Like we have this principle which is told by Sanatan Goswami to all of us, that avyartha kalatvam. When a person is devoted to Krishna consciousness, as the time progresses, the wise people, they see the nature of time and they act in a proper way. They don't waste their time in whiling away the time. They use every moment in Krishna consciousness. So this time factor is something which all of us has to keep in mind, that whether we are using it properly according to the religious principles, according to the scriptural principles. Otherwise, we may live a life, but the quality of life will not be there. See, we see that we have a lot of examples of devotees, how they have practiced this dharma by the flow of the time. Like, for example, Prithu Maharaj. If you take the Prithu Maharaj, the story comes in 4th canto, 23rd chapter. When he saw himself growing old, when he understood that he was growing old, then he immediately decided that, it's time for me to retire. That thing has come unto him. But nowadays, what we are doing, even if the time shows us like how we are aging, it gives us a gray hair, lot of symptoms, and our eyesight becomes very dull. We cannot even chew things properly. Our teeth has a problem. Our bones have a problem. Even all these things comes to us. We still think we have so much time for the devotional activity to perform. We just postpone those devotional things, and then we just get engaged in the material things. This is the situation right now for all of us. But the wise people, they don't do such things. Like, for example, even Yudhishthir. Yudhishthir, he saw the symptoms of Kali Yuga and he desired to retire just by seeing the symptoms of Kali Yuga. He understood that, these are the symptoms of Kali Yuga, means Krishna is no more present in this material world. Then immediately they thought, the Yudhishthira and the Pandavas, they decided, when Krishna is not there on this earth, why do we have to be there? Let us go wherever he is. So they desire to retire. So we have to be very careful, because nowadays these mundane magazines and newspapers, they don't train us to see the flow of time. If we cannot see the flow of time, then we will get bewildered actually. But Srimad Bhagavatam, it trains us to see the flow of time, and it helps us to act accordingly with respect to the principles of Dharma. So there's one parallel that we can draw here with respect to Vrtrasura and Bhishma Dev also. If you see, the Kauravas did not had faith in Bhishma. Bhishma, the Pandavas were fighting against the Bhishma, but Bhishma never had any fear. He fought the battlefield as a matter of duty. He is also a great devotee. He also preached Arjuna how he could be killed. Although he was not fighting for Kauravas, although he was fighting for Kauravas on the side of Kauravas, Adharma, but Duryodhana never trusted Bhishma, and he was always making sarcastic comments that he was not fighting enough to his full capacity against Pandavas. So here also we see the same parallel with respect to Vrtrasura. So Vrtrasura was here rejected by his own men, just like he is also fighting for demons against the demigods, but his own demons, demon soldiers, they were rejecting him. Just like how Bhishma Dev was never considered like a warrior, in the eyes of Duryodhana. He always felt that he was not fighting enough. And then here we see that Vrtrasura tell Indra how to kill him, just like how Bhishma Dev has told Arjuna how he can be killed. Like that, Vrtrasura do not have any fear. So he was telling, when later on verses we can see that how he tells Indra how he can be killed. So and Bhishma and Vrtrasura both are actually not egoistic. They both are not egoistic. They both are very highly elevated devotees. Their heart is actually given to Krishna, even though they are fighting, their bodies are fighting for the sake of Adharma or for the service of Adharma. Like Bhishma Dev fought for Kauravas and Vrtrasura was fighting for demons, but still their heart is given to the Krishna. So these are some of the similarities between Vrtrasura, Bhishma, and also like Akrura also. We see Akrura, even though he was a pure devotee, he also was working for Kamsa. He also worked for Kamsa, but internally he was very devoted to Lord Krishna. So this is what we have to see. But after all these things, even though Vrtrasura is such a great personality, he is telling demons, not to forget their dharma, because demons have forgotten their dharma because of the fear and anxiety. And what happened on the other side? The demigods also forgot their dharma, because they are not following the codes of conduct of fighting. Why? Because of demigods have an attachment to winning. They took advantage of attacking the demons from the behind. But a great person like Vrtrasura, they don't deviate from dharma either in success or in defeat. So that's why Vrtrasura is a very great personality, and he was chastising both the parties, both the demons and also demigods. So he was not concerned about winning or losing the kingdom. Demigods, whereas demigods are concerned, because they are attached to winning of the kingdom, whereas even demons side also, they are attached not to lose the kingdom. But Vrtrasura was not attached. That's why he's able to see the he is able to clearly make the discrimination, and he is able to follow the dharma properly, and also able to tell both the parties know that they are not doing their duty correctly. So, this is what we can learn from this shloka. So we will move forward and we'll see what next is going to come here. Any volunteers? Yes, Hindu Mataji, go ahead.
Text 4, Mataji.
Yeah. Yes, Mataji. Text 4.
Text 4. Kim va ucharitair mathur dhavad bhi prash tatho hatai nahi bhi dhavadha slagyo nasvargya suramaninam. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. O demigods, these demoniac soldiers have taken birth uselessly. Indeed, they have come from the bodies of their mothers, exactly like stone. What is the benefit of killing such enemies from behind while they are running in fear? One who considers himself a hero should not kill an enemy who is afraid of losing his life. Such killing is never glorious, nor can it promote one to the heavenly planets. Purport. Vrtrasura rebuked both the demigods and the demoniac soldiers because the demons were running in fear of their lives and the demigods were killing them from behind. The actions of both were abominable. When a fight takes place, the opposing parties must be prepared to fight like heroes. A hero never runs from the field of battle. He always fights face to face, determined to gain victory or lay down his life in the fight. That is heroic. Killing an enemy from behind is also inglorious. When an enemy turns his back and runs in fear of his life, he should not be killed. This is the etiquette of military science. Vrtrasura insulted the demoniac soldiers by comparing them to the stool of their mothers. Both stool and a cowardly son come from the abdomen of the mother, and Vrtrasura said that there is no difference between them. The similar comparison was given by Tulsidasa, who commented that a son and a urine both come from the same channel. In other words, semen and urine both come from the genitals, but semen produces a child, whereas urine produces nothing. Therefore, if a child is neither a hero nor a devotee, he is not a son but urine. Similarly, Chanakya Pandita also says, Oritaha putrena jatena yona vidvan na dharmikaha khanena chakshusha kimva chakshushu pidaiva kevalam. What is the use of a son who is neither glorious nor devoted to the Lord? Such a son is like a blind eye, which simply gives pain but cannot help one see. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji. So here we see that, how heavily Vrtrasura is chastising, both the parties. And so he's saying, what is the benefit of killing to the demigods? That, what is the benefit of killing the people who are running away from the battlefield? Actually, it is said that, one should not kill a woman or a child or a person who has surrendered, and a person who is in fear, and person who does not have a chariot, nor a person who is not having a weapons. So there are some codes of conduct to be followed while for a kshatriya when they go to the battlefield. So here we see that demons clearly were frightened The demon soldiers were clearly frightened by the attack of demigods, and they were just running away from fear. So when they are running away from the fear like that, Vrtrasura is comparing, is chastising them, saying that, they are not, they are not different from, like, they are exactly like, they have come from the bodies of their mother exactly like a stool. He's comparing them like that, like a stool. But stool and like, because he's telling that they are covered, cowardly. So both stool and the cowardly son, they come from the mother's abdomen only. So here we see that when a person does not show heroism at the right time, like in the case of demons, they are not showing their heroism, they are not showing their valor, they are not showing their Kshatriya dharma of fighting against the opponents. But and here Prabhupada mentions very beautifully, like, when a person who does not show the heroism at the right time, and also when a person shows heroism at the wrong time, both are condemned. Prabhupada is mentioning the purport, right? So both are condemned. Why? Because the demigods are showing their heroism by attacking someone who is fleeing away from the battlefield. They are not fighting face to face. They are fighting with the people who are just running away from the battlefield. And then, that is not glorious. That is not a heroism. But the demigods are showing that. So that's how the Vrtrasura is belittling, demigods, saying that, they are not, they are not like varios, actual Kshatriyas. Okay, so Prabhupada also quotes from Chanakya Pandit also that, what is the use of a son who is neither glorious nor devoted to the Lord? If a son is not devoted to the Lord, then such a son is like a blind eye. What does a blind eye does? It just only gives pain, but cannot help to see anything, right? So it is useless. So like that. So here the situation, is comparing the demons and the demigods with these kind of shastric comparisons. Even like if you see, Tulsidas also makes a comment. He gives a comparison saying that semen and urine both come from the same genitals, but urine is useless. If just like urine is useless, if the child also is not a devotee or not doing any, not doing his Kshatriya dharma or a hero here, it is said it is a hero. So he is also not a son, but he is also like urine. Urine produces nothing, right? Similarly, being son is also useless. So, we can understand from this that how much Vrtrasura is well versed with the Shastras also. He can quote what is a dharma, what is a dharma, he's actually comparing it with the stool and all that. So, and he's telling what is glorious, what is non-glorious. He has a very good knowledge. So we'll move on to the next shloka. Who will read? Anybody else? Other volunteers? Okay. Rohini Shetty Mataji. Yes. Word Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, I'll try.
Yes.
Yadiva pradhane shraddha saram va kshulaka ridhi agre tishtha matram me nached gramya sukhe spriha. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. O insignificant demigods, if you truly have faith in your heroism, if you have patience in the cores of your hearts, and if you are not ambitious for sense gratification, please stand before me for a moment. Purport: rebuking the demigods, Vrtrasura challenged, O demigods, if you are actually heroes, stand before me now and try to show your prowess. If you do not wish to fight, if you are afraid of losing your lives, I shall not kill you, for unlike you, I am not so evil minded as to kill persons who are neither heroic nor willing to fight. If you have faith in your heroism, please stand before me. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thanks, Mataji. So here we can see that Vrtrasura is, continuing to chastise these demigods. So he's telling to demigods, three things are mentioned here, that if they are truly have faith in the heroism, then they should do three things. So one is, they should have patience in the core of the heart, and they should not desire any sense gratification, and also should have they should have a true faith in the heroism. Then only he's challenging them, with these three things. If you have all these three qualities, you come and stand before me, and I am ready to fight. If you don't have any of these, then I don't want to fight, and I don't want to also run away like my soldiers from the battlefield, nor I don't want to kill people who are flying away from fleeing away from the battlefield. I don't want to take such steps like you people, but I want to face you people face to face. So this is the challenge that he is throwing at demigods, and also rebuking the demigods. Okay, so we'll move on to the next shloka. Any volunteers? Or if I recite, somebody would want to.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Shall
Okay,
I
sorry,
read?
sorry. Yes.
Text 6. Evam suraganan kruddho vishayan vipusha vipun vyanadat sumaha prano yena loka vichetasaha. Hare Krishna. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Sukadeva Goswami said, Vrtrasura, the angry and most powerful hero, terrified the demigods with his stout and strongly built body. When he roared with a resounding voice, nearly all living entities fainted. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. So here we are seeing that now Vrtrasura said that if you don't want to fight, it's okay. That I will not fight against you. If you people are not interested to fight, if you do not wish to fight, if you are afraid to be killed, then I will not kill you. Like that, he rebuked, and he became very angry at the demigods. So at this point of time, he started roaring. And this roar, what did Vrtrasura, after becoming angry, when he roared, his roaring was a resound. It was giving a resounding voice, and nearly all living entities fainted. Usually, here Prabhupada, like Sukadeva Goswami, is also saying that the demigods have a stout and strongly built body. They became terrified just by the roaring of Vrtrasura. See, he is not even holding any weapons. Without any weapons, usually when someone has a weapons, we become very fearful, right? He may shoot us, or something will happen to us. But here, in the battlefield, demigods Sukadeva Goswami saying nearly all living entities fainted just by the roaring of Vrtrasura, because he was so angry, and he started roaring with such resounding voice. Now what happens, we'll see here. Who will read? Rupali Mataji. Yes, Mataji, go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Tena deva ghana sarve vitra vishpo tanina vai nipetu muchita bhumau yathaiva shanina Chanina Hata. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. And all the demigods heard Vrtrasura's tumultuous roars, which resembled that of a lion. They fainted and fell to the ground as if struck by a thunderbolt. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Mataji. That was true. So here we see Sukadeva Goswami already spoke about Vrtrasura's roaring, and he said almost all the living entities fainted. Now again he is stressing about this his roar. So he said that when demigods heard this roar, it resembled like a lion's roar, and they fainted and fell to the ground as if struck by thunderbolt. They are having the thunderbolt, right? They are having the thunderbolt with them, but they got injured, without even using the thunderbolt, without using any weapon. This is the Vrtrasura's confidence. Just by his roaring, all the demigods fainted. Previously, all the weapons of demons together could not cause even a slight injury to demigods, right? But now we see that just the roar of one person, that is Vrtrasura, it made all the demigods faint as if they are struck by thunderbolt, even though he did not use any weapon. So this shows the quality versus quantity. This is the power of the quality of the fearlessness of one person. Srila Prabhupada also, actually, he in 1970, he called all the leaders of the movement at that time in Krishna consciousness in ISKCON, and then he asked them, how many of you have full faith that Krishna is Supreme Personality of God? So devotee did not raise any hands. Srila Prabhupada said at that time that, if you have complete faith, within 18 days, we can conquer the whole world. So he was there, that time he mentioned that, purity is the force. So Prabhupada hardly had any facilities, but he created and, he brought a great impact in the whole world because of his purity. So purity is basically, what is a purity? Purity is like to have a sincere desire without any ulterior motives. Without any ulterior motives, you have sincere desire in the heart just to please Guru and Krishna. So how do we gain that kind of purity in our lives? That purity we can gain by taking shelter of the holy names. And by taking shelter of the process of devotional service, we get that purity. So here we see that, Vrtrasura was pure at heart. And because of that, he could able to even, make demigods tremble just by his roar. We'll move to the next letter. Yes, Jigisha Mataji.
Hare
Go ahead,
Krishna Mataji.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes, Mataji. Go ahead, Mataji.
Sorry, I'll read again. Mamarda Padmayam Sura Sainyam Aturam Nilitaksura Durgam Yadvam Ampayam Dad Shula Ujasa Alam Vanam Vitapatir Thulam Madu. Sorry, it was too difficult.
Translation you can read, Mataji.
Translation by Sri Prabhupada. As the demigods closed their eyes in fear, Vrtrasura, taking up his trident and making the earth tremble with his great strength, trampled the demigods beneath his feet in the battlefield the way a mad elephant tramples hollow bamboos in the forest. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you so much. So now we see that now in this war field, Vrtrasura became maddened. So in this war field, Vrtrasura became maddened. he saw the meanness of demigods, and he took the trident. He took the trident and forced it to the ground. He just struck the trident to the ground with force. Just because of that, the earth started trembling. There was such a powerful strike it was that earth started trembling. Then what happens when something fearful was happening in front of us? If something fearful happens, what do we do? We just close our eyes, right? So similarly here, we see all the demigods close their eyes because they got frightened by seeing how Vrtrasura has put his trident on the earth, making the earth tremble with that force, that when he put the trident on the ground, so the earth got trembled. So because of that, Vrtrasura was like the demigods closed their eyes. So now Vrtrasura, after that, what did he do? He also trampled all the demigods with his feet, just like maddened elephant tramples the bamboos in the forest, right? If there is a mad elephant, can we stop the mad elephant? No. But when we are walking in the forest, we will, if there are any thorny bushes or anything like that, we will make sure that we'll clear the pathway, right? So we will not step onto such things. But if the mad elephant goes into the forest, what happens? It doesn't see. It even steps onto the hollow bamboos. Just like that, he was Vrtrasura was so raged. And already the figure of Vrtrasura was very horrifying, and his roar was also horrifying for the demigods. That's why they have closed their eyes also. And here Sukadeva Goswami also says that when the trident struck the earth, the earth trembled, and because of that also they have closed their eyes. So they're feeling that they're the danger, right? Like why do we close the eyes? Because we sense some kind of danger. But just by closing our eyes, can we stop the danger? Will danger will stop? No, right? So similarly here, Vrtrasura has trampled all of them to dust, trampled all the demigods to the dust, with anger, with rage of anger. So what next we'll see. Okay, any volunteers? Yes, now Kishori Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Vilokyam tam prajadharotyamashitaha shastra vedravate mahagadam vikshepataam suduzha saham jagraha vamina karna leelaya. Hare Krishna. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Seeing Vrtrasura's disposition, Indra, the king of heaven, became intolerant and threw at him one of his great clubs, which are extremely difficult to counteract. However, as the club flew towards him, Vrtrasura easily caught it with his left hand. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam Mataji. Thank you so much. So here now, seeing Vrtrasura's, showing his power. So now Devaraj Indra, what did he do? He could not tolerate it. Why he could not tolerate? Because he's seeing the supremacy of Vrtrasura here. Because of that, he couldn't tolerate. This comes because of material enviousness. In spiritual life, in spiritual realm, there is no envy. Only in the material realm, this envy exists. So Indra is feeling very insecure because he is also in the material realm. So actually he is his intoxication is what? His intoxication is in his mundane pride. He, like, we know that, why one gets intoxicated. When someone has material wealth, beauty, fame, education, good education, all these things will make a person egoistic. So because of that ego, they become very intoxicated. So once they become intoxicated, they will lose the good intelligence. So when Indra was seeing his subordinates dying, how Vrtrasura was just trampling all of them. When he saw all that, when he saw the supremacy of Vrtrasura, he couldn't tolerate it. So what did he do? Immediately throw a mace, gada, at Vrtrasura. So club. He threw the club at Vrtrasura, and what did Vrtrasura do? Vrtrasura just caught hold of that club. The club was what? It was very powerful one. The one which Indra is throwing, the weapons are not ordinary weapons. Because Indra is not an ordinary person. So the weapon is so powerful that if for anybody else, it was very difficult to tolerate. But Vrtrasura, he could able to catch it with left hand, just like a small, why it is mentioned left hand. He easily caught it with his left hand. It means to say, Sukadeva Goswami wanted to emphasize that it was so insignificant. It means that, left hand means what? If you can do any work with the left hand, usually left hand is little weak also, and we don't care much about this. So it was so insignificant. It was so simple for Vrtrasura to catch hold of that club, which is actually very difficult for others to tolerate. For him, it was so simple. So it means here Sukadeva Goswami is highlighting the valor and the strength of Vrtrasura. So that is what is conveyed in this shloka. So we will end here. If you have any comments, questions, we can discuss. Anybody has any comments, questions? Okay, if nothing is there, then so we'll end here. Thank you so much for all of your patient hearing, and we'll continue next week and see the beautiful pastime of Vrtrasura. It opens up many more lessons for us. Even Vrtrasura prayers are going to come, which are very, 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 very important for all of us for our lifetime, to develop that consciousness, to build a consciousness and to live a life of that consciousness, which Vrtrasura has taught us in the Bhagavatam. So we'll see in the next week session. Thank you so much for all of your patient hearing. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripasindhubhyascha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namo. Ananta koti vaishnav ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Grandhara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.